Imagine losing $1 billion. Now imagine losing it because of a single comma, or a misplaced bolt, or even a simple math conversion error. It sounds like a bad dream, right? Well, for some of the world's biggest companies and space agencies, it was a very expensive reality. Today, we're looking at those facepalm moments that turned a tiny oops into a financial catastrophe. But before we launch into these billion-dollar blunders, do us a huge favor. If you want to keep your brain filled with mind-blowing facts every single week, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon. It's totally free, and unlike the people in this video, you won't lose a penny by doing it. In fact, you'll be much richer in knowledge. Done? Awesome. Let's dive in. Back in 1999, NASA sent a $125 million orbiter to Mars. Its mission? To study the Martian climate. Its actual fate? Becoming a very expensive shooting star. You see, the Mars Climate Orbiter was supposed to be a triumph of engineering. But as it approached the red planet, something went horribly wrong. Instead of entering its intended orbit, it dipped way too low into the Martian atmosphere and simply burned up. The reason for this disaster was so simple, it's almost painful. One engineering team used metric units, newtons, to calculate the force, while the other team used English imperial units, pounds force. They forgot to double-check their math, and this tiny lack of communication caused a massive $125 million mistake. Talk about a lost in translation moment that literally went up in smoke. If you think that's bad, wait until you hear about the Spanish S-80 submarine. In 2013, Spain spent over $2 billion on what was supposed to be a state-of-the-art vessel. There was just one tiny problem. It was too heavy to float. Engineers realized that someone had put a decimal point in the wrong place during the design phase, adding 70 tons of extra weight. When it was finished, it was feared that if the sub went underwater, it might never come back up. To fix it, they had to make the entire submarine longer, costing another $11 million per meter. Imagine being the engineer who has to explain that the brand new submarine needs to be stretched like a piece of dough because of a dot on a piece of paper. Sometimes math class really does matter, folks. Punctuation can be a matter of life and death, or at least a matter of millions. Back in 1962, the Mariner 1 rocket was supposed to head to Venus. Instead, it lasted exactly 293 seconds before it had to be blown up by mission control. The cause? A missing hyphen in the guidance software code. One tiny dash. That single character caused the rocket to malfunction, sending it off course and resulting in an $80 million fireworks show. It's a sobering reminder that when you're dealing with space exploration, even the smallest punctuation mark carries the weight of a fortune. Then there's the fat finger error of the Tokyo Stock Exchange. In 2005, a trader at Mizuho Securities tried to sell one share of a company called JCOM for 610,000 yen. Instead, he accidentally typed in a command to sell 610,000 shares for 1 yen each. That's like trying to sell a luxury car for the price of a gumball. Despite several attempts to cancel the trade, the exchange processed it because of a glitch in their system. The result? A $225 million loss in a matter of minutes. It's the ultimate lesson in why you should always double-check your typing before hitting enter. One wrong key, and you've just wiped out a company's profits for the decade. Sometimes a mistake doesn't just cost money, it changes the geography of a place forever. In 1980, a Texaco oil rig was drilling in Lake Peigneur in Louisiana when they accidentally poked a hole in a salt mine underneath the lake. This created a giant whirlpool, a literal drain in the middle of the lake that swallowed the entire drilling rig, 11 barges, and even a forest. The once shallow freshwater lake became a deep saltwater lake almost overnight. Miraculously, everyone escaped, but the damages cost Texaco around $45 million back then, which is billions in today's value when you consider the environmental impact. Even the most famous telescope in history had a rough start. The Hubble Space Telescope was launched in 1990 with a mirror that was polished just a fraction too flat, about 1/50th the width of a human hair. You might think, who cares? It's just a tiny hair. But in the world of high-precision optics, this tiny error meant the first images from space were blurry and useless.
To fix it, NASA had to send a dedicated shuttle mission to install what were essentially glasses for the telescope. This repair cost over $1.5 billion. It turned out fine in the end, and Hubble became a legend, but that's one heck of an optician's bill. In the world of finance, Citibank made a legendary blunder in 2020 that left the banking world stunned. While trying to pay $8 million in interest to lenders, a worker accidentally sent the entire $900 million principal instead. Because of a confusing user interface in their software, they checked the wrong box. While some lenders returned the money out of professional courtesy, others legally refused, leading to a massive $500 million loss. It took years of court battles to resolve, and it remains one of the most embarrassing corporate mistakes in modern history. And we can't forget the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. In an attempt to pack as much power as possible into a slim design, a tiny manufacturing flaw in the battery caused the phones to overheat and explode. People's phones were catching fire in their pockets, on airplanes, and in their beds.
This led to a global recall and the complete cancellation of the product line, costing Samsung an estimated $17 billion in lost revenue and brand damage. It was a classic case of pushing the boundaries of technology a bit too far without enough safety testing. Building bridges is hard, but you'd think engineers would check their height benchmarks. In 2003, during the construction of a bridge between Germany and Switzerland, the two sides realized they were 54 centimeters apart in height. Why? Because they were using different sea levels as their reference point. Germany used the North Sea, and Switzerland used the Mediterranean. They actually knew about the difference, but someone accidentally added the correction instead of subtracting it, doubling the error. Correcting the bridge cost millions and left everyone involved feeling more than a bit embarrassed. Let's talk about the Swedish ship, the Vasa. Built in the 17th century, it was meant to be the most powerful warship in the world. However, the king insisted on adding a second deck of heavy guns, making the ship top-heavy.
On its maiden voyage in 1628, a slight breeze caught the sails, and the ship simply tipped over and sank just 1,300 meters from the shore. The cost was astronomical for the time, not to mention the loss of prestige. Today it's a museum, but at the time it was the 17th century equivalent of a multi-billion-dollar failure. In 2012, Knight Capital Group lost $440 million in just 45 minutes. Why? A technician forgot to update the code on one of their servers. When the markets opened, an old, obsolete algorithm started buying and selling millions of shares at the wrong prices. The company's stock price plummeted 75% in a single day, and they were nearly bankrupt before lunch. It just goes to show that in the age of high-frequency trading, a single line of old code can destroy a company faster than you can say, delete. Even the French National Railway isn't immune to oops moments. In 2014, they spent 15 billion euros on 2,000 new trains. Only after the trains were delivered did they realize they were too wide for 1,300 of the older platforms in the country. They had to spend another 50 million euros to shave down the edges of the platforms so the trains could actually pass through. It turns out someone forgot to measure the stations built over 50 years ago. Then there's the London Skyscraper, the walkie-talkie building. Its curved glass design acted like a giant magnifying glass, concentrating sunlight onto the street below. It was so intense that it actually melted a Jaguar's side mirror and fried eggs on the sidewalk. Fixing the building with permanent sunshades cost millions and became a global laughingstock. It's the ultimate example of looking cool backfiring in a very hot way. History is also full of missed opportunities that cost billions. In 2000, Blockbuster had the chance to buy a tiny startup called Netflix for just $50 million. They laughed at the offer. Today, Netflix is worth hundreds of billions, and Blockbuster is extinct. Similar stories exist for Yahoo, who turned down the chance to buy Google for $1 million in the 90s. Now, Google is a trillion-dollar company. These wasn't technical errors, but errors in judgment that changed the world. And who could forget Ronald Wayne?
He was the third co-founder of Apple. Fearing financial risk, he sold his 10% stake in the company for just $800 in 1976. Today, that stake would be worth over $300 billion. That's probably the most expensive case of playing it safe in human history. Finally, let's look at the Ariane 5 rocket launch in 1996. It exploded just 40 seconds after liftoff. The cause was a software error, where a 64-bit integer was converted into a 16-bit integer, causing the guidance computer to crash. That tiny line of code resulted in the loss of a $370 million rocket and its payload. It's a stark reminder that in the world of high-tech engineering, every bit and every byte matters. It's truly incredible how the smallest oversight can lead to the biggest disasters. From missing hyphens to misplaced decimal points, these stories prove that attention to detail is worth its weight in gold. Which of these mistakes surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip through history's most expensive facepalms, smash that like button. It really helps the channel out and tells us you want more content like this.
And if you're still hungry for more amazing facts, check out one of our other videos on the screen right now. We've got plenty of stories waiting for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.